Good morning. Today is Monday, February 27th, 2023. And today I am tuning in to briefly talk to you guys about identity. Identity is something that I've been thinking about on and off and making a video about recently. And why? Well, identity seems to be something that all of us struggle with, right? Like whether we try to find our identity in various aspects of ourselves and our lives. Okay? So let's take me for instance. So if you were to ask me to sum up my identity, I might look to my sex, so I'm female. I might look to my age, I'm 34 years old. I might look to my job, currently I'm a biologist. I might look to where I live or where I'm from. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm from Tennessee. I might look to my interest. So music is one of my interests. I play music and I sing. And so I would say I'm a musician or I'm a singer-songwriter, something like this. And yeah, I mean, those are different, I started to say facets. Those are different measures of people's identity that people commonly use. And I'm sure that you guys might start off with things like that, okay? So, although each of those things that I mentioned are measures of someone's identity, are possibly ways that they would measure their identity, it doesn't necessarily cover it, does it? And why is that? Well, I haven't really put this into words. I haven't really put this into words before now, although I probably should have. However, I mean, you can't really use one thing to convey someone's identity, all right? Also, things are changing. The world's constantly changing. Life is changing all around us all the time. Therefore, our identity in that way would be fairly fluid, okay? And if we use something like a job or our interest, then our identity would always be shifting, right? And that's true. Let's look at an extreme example of this. So one thing that comes to mind, and this is taking like a psychological sort of route with this whole thing, is a condition known as borderline personality disorder, okay? And I bring this up because this personally speaks to me in that I was in therapy a few years ago, right whenever I came to DC and after I lived here for like a while. And my therapist at the time, while he did not officially diagnose me with borderline personality disorder, he believed that I had this. But regardless, borderline personality disorder is something that is marked by an unstable or an instability to one's identity, all right? So people with borderline personality disorder will often struggle to feel like they have a sense of identity, and it goes beyond that. Why do I bring up someone with borderline personality disorder? Well, if you think about most people's measure of identity, if the world around them is shifting all the time, then most people really do have an unstable sense of identity. And so they're not much different with someone than someone who has borderline personality disorder, right? Or someone who is diagnosed with whatever you want to say. The point of all of this is to get to my realization, which I know isn't a new realization, but I feel bears repeating. And that realization is that our true identity comes from our Creator. Our true identity and our only real identity that is steadfast, that is lasting, that is everlasting, is in Jesus Christ. Okay? And it's interesting, right? Because we really find everything in Jesus. We find true love, we find worth, we find value, we find a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, and who we are in Jesus Christ. So right now, if you are struggling with your identity, if you are struggling to measure who you are or determine who you are based on one of these measures that I brought up here, or another one that I didn't think to bring up, then know that those are probably fleeting measures of your identity and no way really convey who you are or your worth. And those things can only be found in Jesus Christ. And how do we know that? Well, my friend, we know that anything, that everything that you would use to describe yourself and what you're worth would fall short, would be fleeting, would change, would be subject to the wind, outside of our God, our Creator, being willing to send His Son to die on the cross for you in order to save you of not only from your sins, but from the fires of hell. Anything else doesn't cut it. So this is the only thing in which you find your identity and your worth. I hope that what I'm saying makes sense and that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead. And I will talk to you soon. I love you. Bye.